Vibe coding and training. In today's world of AI, we are always looking in the training industry of ways of repurposing our content to make it fun and engaging. Today, we're going to answer the question, is vibe coding the answer? And what is the best vibe coding tool between industry leaders ChatGPT and Google's Gemini? We're also going to look at what the practical use of these tools are and a secret that the AI companies aren't telling you. Okay, so let's start this comparison with ChatGPT and Gemini. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a Space Invaders game. We're using this XML file and JavaScript file to load in questions and images. The purpose of using the same XML and JavaScript file is because what we want to do is we want to create a gamification application that is modular. So what that means is that basically it can be provided questions and answers from the same file, both file structure, data structure, and JavaScript code. And we can use those files again and again for different games. So we're basically creating modularity. So we sped up this whole demonstration. Otherwise, we would literally be here all day, and we were here all day creating this for you. So this is sped up a lot. But essentially what happens is the ChatGPT 5 will create for you this game. Now, it's a Space Invaders. You can see it's got Space Invaders and they're going down when they get to the end of the rows. Now, what we've asked it to do is to service us with questions after every 5 Space Invaders. If we hurry this up, you can see absolutely no questions have been delivered to us. So with the vibe coding approach, what we do is we basically talk to it. So we say, currently I'm not seeing any multiple choice questions, please fix. And the ChatGPT 5 should go back and have a look and see why it's not loading the questions from Quiz XML and why it's not displaying them. We have found actually fairly regularly that it just, if you ask it to do 2 things, particularly at the start, and it recognizes that big thing, create Space Invaders, it just focuses on that. It ignores it. So you've got to ask a second supplementary question to get it to load in questions or do any other operation that's not standard. So ChatGPT has basically been trained on creating lots of arcade games, Space Invaders, Pac-Man and stuff, and it jumps on that and goes, yeah, I know how to do that. But going that a little bit further, it has problems. So you can see here, we're not loading it in the quiz. And what we've done is we've looked in our console and we found out why. So it says it refused to load the statement, the style sheet. So what we can do is we can paste those errors given to us by the console, the browser console. So you press F12 when you open the browser console, and we can give them those back to ChatGPT, and it will try to fix the error. So you can see here we've sent it back, and it's recreated the Space Invaders game after some time, and you can see now we've got some sort of improvements. And here we've got questions being shown to us. The problem is that these questions aren't the ones we gave it. It basically has created these. So what it's done is it hasn't been able to load the XML from the JavaScript, and it's actually created those. So it says we've been now saying to it, can you make sure the quiz XML.js and quiz XML file I uploaded are used? But you want to make sure that basically they're using this modular file structure that we want them to do. And also we want to make sure that the system is actually using the questions that we wanted to as well. Now, we found, although we're doing this as a demonstration, we have found this continuously, that there's a lot of trouble with ChatGPT reading file structure. It's supposed to be the system where you can put in anything you want, like create a Photoshop, as many of these demonstrations do, and it works. It doesn't work. So, I myself have limited programming experience, although I did program 25 years ago. Was the last time I could actually call myself a programmer in any sense. But I'm not using any program knowledge to have this interface with the computer. I'm basically just telling it what I want, and it's coming back and giving me information. So you can see here, it's still having problems loading in the game now. So we find this regularly with ChatGPT. And it's not just unique to ChatGPT, but ChatGPT is the one that we found this happens all the time, is that you task it to do things and it won't do it. It won't do it. And you try again. Eventually, sometimes it works. So here we've actually asked it to tell us why the quiz assets aren't succeeding. And it's given us this feedback. Using that feedback, we are then trying to fix it. Basically, we've got the errors in the console. We're reading the feedback it's giving us. And it goes on like this. OpenELMS' learning generator allows you to repurpose your e-learning into any format, from PowerPoint to video to podcast to arcade-style gamification, without needing to resorting to vibe coding. The end result is professional, multimodal e-learning in any language in minutes using AI. Visit openelms.ai for a free 14-day trial. So here we're asking if the system cannot load in the files, which it's not doing, which is why it's not running properly, then provide a interface to load in the files manually. So we've actually tried this before, and we found that sometimes it won't upload the quiz XML, particularly if you're running it locally on a PC. What the system will do is it's due to stopping viruses happening. So what the interface should do is give you an interface to load those files in manually. And so that's what we've asked it to do. We wouldn't expect anyone to know that unless they've done a lot of work with this technology, which we've done. I mean, we spent literally days and days and days and weeks trying to get these things to work. So you can see here, we've asked it to input a file. We briefly showed you the file structure. I was just having a look, checking that would work, running it locally, and it's not working, basically. So we still come up with the same errors. We've got this iterative process of giving it the errors, trying to fix it. It's not working. So let's move on to Gemini, similar process. So what we're going to do is we're going to give it the exact same prompt that we gave ChatGPT, and we're going to load in the XML and the JavaScript files we want to use, because we want this, as I say, we want to be modular. We want this game to pick up these files. So any game can pick up the same files serviced by our third-party application, and it will read those files and create a game which has a quiz element. So we've asked it to do the same thing, and we can see here the code is being created by Gemini. Now, this is our first iteration. As you can see, again, we've got a sort of semi-Space Invaders game. This time we've got eyes on the Space Invaders, so it's a little bit more friendly. But it does work. If we shoot, the rules are if you shoot 10, you get a question. And here we have our question. It's done in a sort of nice arcade way. And that is the text from the quiz XML file. It's about Depression era America. So this is working. It's working first time. I mean, we haven't had to ask any queries. It's fine. It works. I mean, it doesn't really look like Space Invaders. So let's do some work on that. So here we are saying change the game Space Invaders to look like the Space Invaders of the 1980s arcade games. And we're also asking it to do other things to basically change the style so it looks more like an arcade game. Introduce bases at the bottom and a flying saucer. You can see here we've created a new game now, and they look a bit more like Space Invaders, and the quiz is just showing when they come up. The bases don't work like traditional bases. They hit them 3 times, I think, and then they disappear. But we've got a passable game that includes a quiz and can be used for classroom-based training, additional training work, just as a fun element to your quizzes. So now we've asked to say, can you make the Space Invaders increase in speed exponentially? So we want to make it behave more like a Space Invader. So the last alien is going really quickly across the screen. We've also said when the invaders reach the bottom, the game should end. So we've tested it. We're testing it iteratively. This is sped up a lot, so you're not seeing this in detail, but we're testing it. We're giving it questions. We're saying the spaceship at the top is too high. And so we just really want to make it look and feel more like an arcade Space Invaders game. Okay, so here it generates the code, and here we've got a Space Invaders game that looks more like a Space Invaders game. The Space Invaders game, it's got a game over. The aliens look better. They're in different colors. It's a much more pleasurable and enjoyable experience. Now, what I've said is that when the mothership is hit, the screen should shake and feedback should say I've lost. So I've done that. Now, this is the first time we've experienced a bug. If you notice, there's a white dot in the middle of the screen. So I've said the game does not start. I can see it at the center of the screen. So we've given that feedback and it fixes it. The bug testing seems to be better. It's not perfect, but it seems to be better in Gemini than ChatGPT. The development of the game in the first place works better in ChatGPT. And, the look and the feel is nicer than in ChatGPT 5. So there's a lot of hype about ChatGPT 5 and vibe coding in general. And any coder will tell you this. It's unfair on coders because whatever they say comes across as protecting their job, and quite rightly. Now, what this is doing is really just telling you the honest truth of everything. I wish this would work but it doesn't work brilliantly. You can see here, what I did then briefly was I tried to run it outside the console. We've installed it online. And what happens is that the answers disappear from the program. So you need a bit of bug testing for this to work. I then ask it to fix those things, and it creates a new application called a quiz tester, which has nothing to do with the Space Invaders. So then I have to have a little argument with it. I tell it, I do not want you to embed the references in the images. And what it does is basically then takes the quiz XML and puts it into the main body of the program, which I do not want to do, because what that does is that will lose the modularity of what I'm trying to create. And it does that a couple of times. This is by no means perfect. And using this methodology, I don't know, but using this methodology, what happens is we get something that did work at one time, and then the changes that they're made makes it fall over, and you get this sort of thing at the end. It's not perfect. It's an iterative process, and for me personally, I needed a programmer to fix this and make this all work at the end of the day. So what is the best vibe coding tool? Well, in the analysis we've seen today, Gemini beats ChatGPT 5 hands down. It produces a better rendered product, a more elegant product, and it seems to understand any changes we have. We want to steer the AI away from the path of the standard goal. So, for instance, asking ChatGPT 5 to load in files and go away from a standard Space Invaders game, a very simplistic Space Invaders game, it breaks. And this is something we've consistently seen. We haven't managed to get anything really usable using ChatGPT 5. Gemini, on the other hand, is a lot better. It does produce something that is usable. It does break once you go a little bit away from what the standard request would be. This seems to be that these models are trained very much on pre-built code. So someone's gone in there and, for instance, shown it how to produce Photoshop, and therefore it just replicates that standard Photoshop build, and it can produce for you a clone of Photoshop. It's not really understanding what Photoshop is, going from the core elements of Photoshop and recreating it. What it's doing is it's basically regurgitating trained code, and that's why it's very good at doing stuff that has already been done already. Anyway, so that's vibe coding. Is it any good? Well, it's a nice party trick, but at the moment it's not really usable if you are considering doing any serious development. What it's useful for is to create ideas, create concepts, and then programmers can then finish them off, as it were. So that's vibe coding for you. It's very interesting, and if you do want to have a go at it, please do. But at the end of the day, there are tools out there that would do this job for you, and they're called programmers. Many thanks. Thanks for watching, and now a word from our prehistoric sponsors.
The AI is transcribing this meeting for everyone. I prefer to take notes. With a pen and paper, I'm quite sure the AI misses the nuance of my genius.